Last Thursday, I travelled to Nürnberg in Germany to be part of Laphroaig Live 2012. Laphroaig Live is an annual event broadcast over the internet, this year to an audience of 60,000, gathering together a panel of 4 whisky experts to discuss all things smoky, peaty, Laphroaig-y, and this year, smoked German sausages and a German beer finished in Laphroaig casks. Later in this episode, I take a detailed look at 3 Laphroaig whiskies. In the meantime, here's some of the highlights of my trip to Germany.
Hello and welcome to Laphroaig Live 2012. Let's meet our panel, shall we? And we've got such a distinguished panel in front of us here. The distillery manager of Laphroaig, of course, it's John Campbell.
Hi, buddy. How you doing?
Bernard Schaffer. Hello, Bernard.
Thanks.
And we have a man who knows all about judging whiskey, and that's Pierre Thibault. Pierre, nice to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
and a round of applause for Pierre. He's the master blender of Laphroaig. Of course, it's Robert Hicks. Robert.
Good evening, all. When you come to the Connemara, it's a very distinctive flavour. It's slightly sweeter, but it's got that slightly oiliness that comes through and that's traditional for Irish whiskies. And it comes through on the taste. It's quite a dry taste.
And it's not just a sort of traditional Irish flavour in there as well. It's Cooley that make this. They've got very strong characteristics of the spirit that they make, and you can really pick this up. You know, if you've tasted Tyrconnell or Kilbeggan and the other Cooley brands, you're going to recognise some of the flavours in here. It's like a peated Cooley whiskey, you know, and it's that Cooley DNA is there with an added dimension. It's a softer, sweeter, sort of more easily sort of.
I would disagree with you there. I would say Ardmore is much easier to drink.
And I think actually part of whiskey appreciation is almost sort of collecting those flavours. I would never just taste one whiskey in one night, you know.
It would be a waste of an evening.
Waste of an evening, yeah.
Well, thank you very much indeed from everyone here. It's all the time that we've got left. Thank you very much to our panel. A round of applause if you can for the panel up there. They've done a great job up there. And auf Wiedersehen.
So I'm safely back in the UK after my rather exciting trip to Nürnberg there for Laphroaig Live. And we're going to take a look now at 3 Laphroaig expressions, one of which, the Càirdeas, was tasted on the night at Laphroaig Live. So if you're interested to find out what the panel thought of it, you can visit the address, which is on the bottom of the screen now. The other 2 weren't included on the bill that night, and the first of those that we're going to look at is Laphroaig Triple Wood. Now, as the name would suggest, this has spent its life, its maturation, under 3 different types of wood. The standard Laphroaig ex-bourbon casks, the Laphroaig sort of proprietary quarter cask, and a final period in European oak, which previously held Oloroso sherry. So essentially, for those of you that are familiar with Laphroaig quarter cask, it's that whiskey with an additional period of maturation. It was previously only available in the travel retail market, so it's relatively new to market on sort of general release. So, the whiskey. On the nose, classic, unmistakably Laphroaig there. It's got those fruity, citrusy notes. It's got obviously the peat, but it's got a gloss, a roundness, a sort of nuttiness that comes from the sherry wood. It's still a pretty robust nose. There's no age statement on this whiskey, so there's plenty of life left in there. On the palate. Rich, round, lovely. In terms of the 3 whiskies, as I've said already, that we're tasting here, this is the one that if you're a lover of quarter cask of Laphroaig 10, it's going to be the most familiar to you. It's a new twist on those, a new take on those, but you're not going to be disappointed with this whiskey. So let's move on. So the second whisky we're going to look at is the Laphroaig 18 years old. This is a very interesting whisky because this is a real object lesson in what happens to a whisky with a little bit of additional age. Now, I've heard this whisky criticised before by some people who I guess are very familiar with the Laphroaig 10-year-old. And part of the reason I think that people have been slightly disappointed by this expression is because with those extra 8 years, the peat is softened off somewhat. Now, this is to be expected as whiskies get older, particularly peaty whiskies, that those phenols, those peaty notes are going to drop off slightly. So if you're looking for that very rugged, robust Laphroaig 10-year-old flavour or quarter cask, you're going to find a very different whisky here. And at first nosing, that could possibly be something that's a disappointment. But of course, what's actually happened to this whisky is, along with those slight softening of the peat flavours, is it's gained an awful lot in the cask. Laphroaig, underneath the peat, even on the younger expressions, has a fruitiness, a citrusy edge, some lovely notes, and these have really come forward at this age. On the palate, lovely mouthfeel, some lemon sherbet notes that really just sort of fizz on your tongue. A greater integration. It's sophisticated. It's still got a peat warmth, a sort of bed of peat there. But there's so much more going on in this. And it is a subtle whisky. Don't expect that full-on aggressive Laphroaig flavour profile that you get from the younger whiskies. Take this on merit for what it is. It's very accessibly priced. I think in the UK online you can pick this up for less than £60. And for me it's a real jump forward from those younger whiskies. As I say, accessibly priced, and as long as you're prepared for the fact that that peat is softened slightly, this is a real treat for lovers of Laphroaig. The third and final whisky we're going to look at is the Laphroaig Càirdeas. Now, this is an annual bottling. They release a Càirdeas, a different whisky under that name every year, and it's sold exclusively to the Friends of Laphroaig, who I believe number now around 500,000. So it's one of the biggest whisky clubs in the world. And if you happen to be one, and I'm not sure if this is still available, but if it is, then this is well worth a look. Some of the whisky in here is relatively young, but has been matured for the entirety of its life in Laphroaig quarter casks. And as anyone who knows about these things will tell you, that has an accelerated maturation process due to the smaller volume of whisky inside the cask and the greater ratio of contact with the wood. So what have we got? Well, of the three that we've tasted so far, it's the least peaty. It's bottled at 51.2%, but there's nothing spirity about this. It's got some slightly sort of mossy notes in there, a slightly metallic edge. It's got some bags of fruit, some toffee notes. There's maybe a little bit of mint or menthol in the background. Absolutely delightful nose. On the palate, it's gentle and creamy, mouth coating, surprisingly smooth and lacking in aggression for a whisky bottled at this strength. Absolutely fabulous. I think, well, it's a toss-up for me. I'm not sure which is best, the 18-year-old or the Càirdeas. They're absolutely fantastic. If you are a friend of Laphroaig, or if you know someone who can get hold of a bottle of this, I really can't recommend it highly enough. Absolutely sensational.